For more than 40 years, if you're talking about Malaysian politics, you're pretty much talking about one person, Mahathir Mohamad. But here's the thing. He's been called a unifier who built a modern nation, and at the same time, a divider who shattered it. It's a huge contradiction, and today we're going to try to unpack this, the Mahathir paradox. So on one side, you have the father of modernization. I mean, this is the guy who dreamed up a futuristic Malaysia, built those iconic Petronas towers, and totally transformed the economy. But then on the flip side, he gets tagged as the father of disunity, the man accused of fracturing Malay politics more than anyone else. So what's the real story here? Was he the grand unifier or the great divider? You know what, to figure this out, let's step into a kind of political courtroom. We're going to look at the evidence, we're going to hear from the prosecution, the defense, and see if we can reach a verdict on his incredibly complicated legacy. All right, let's start with the case for the defense. Mahathir as the ultimate unifier, the nation builder who really put Malaysia on the world map. The defense's star exhibit, you could say, is Vision 2020. Now, this wasn't just some boring economic plan. It was this huge social project. The whole point was to create a single, cohesive national identity, a Bangsa Malaysia or Malaysian race, where everybody, no matter their background, felt like they belonged. And this vision, well, it had very real, very tangible results. His policies led to these massive projects that became symbols of national pride. He helped create this new, confident Malay middle class and turned Malaysia into a Southeast Asian tiger economy. This, the defense argues, is unity, a unity that's forged through shared progress and success. But of course, every case has two sides, so now let's hear from the prosecution. They paint a very different picture of his time in power, one that's not defined by unity, but by deep, lasting fractures. The prosecution's case really zeroes in on three key moments where Malay political unity just shattered. And guess who was at the center of each one? It starts back in 1987 with the split of his own party. Then it just explodes with a seismic crisis involving Anwar Ibrahim. And it keeps going even after he retires, with him creating more splinter parties. Exhibit A for the prosecution is definitely the 1998 crisis, when Mahathir sacked and then arrested his own deputy and handpicked successor Anwar Ibrahim. Well, that was way more than just a political disagreement. It created this deep, moral split in Malay society that honestly has never really healed. But here's the thing, the move completely backfired on him. Instead of getting rid of a political rival, Mahathir accidentally created a martyr. This lit the fire for the reformacy movement, Malaysia's first really powerful multi-ethnic opposition, and it fundamentally changed the whole political game. And get this, even after leaving power, his actions kept on dividing. He personally started new parties, like Bersatu and then later Pejuang. And these weren't just random parties. They were designed specifically to go after the exact same pool of Malay voters as his old party, UMNO. He was basically slicing the political pie into smaller and smaller pieces. Okay, so the prosecution's case is strong, but the defense has a rebuttal. They argue that what the prosecution is calling division, well, it wasn't malicious. They say it was a necessary, if painful, disruption of old systems that were holding the country back. Here's their core argument. The very things he did to modernize the country were the same things that created these fractures. Policies that were meant to make the Malay community globally competitive also, well, fueled a ton of infighting over resources and patronage. So in their view, it was an unavoidable, kind of unfortunate side effect of really ambitious progress. The defense also argues that, hey, Mahathir wasn't acting in a vacuum, right? He was trying to navigate global financial crises. And the massive corruption scandals under the leaders who came after him, I'm talking about 1MDB, they share a huge part of the blame for the political mess that followed. So we've heard both sides of the story. It's time for the final verdict. Is Mahathir really the father of Malay disunity? Well, the verdict is complicated. The sources seem to suggest he wasn't the intentional father of disunity. He didn't set out to do it. Instead, he was maybe the midwife who delivered it, or even better, the architect who designed the political arena where these fractures were pretty much guaranteed to happen. So how did he do it?
Well, it breaks down into three key things. First, he centralized so much power in his own hands that when he left, it created this massive vacuum and, of course, power struggles. Second, he turned the question of who is the true Malay leader into the ultimate political prize. And third, he normalized the idea that if you lose an internal fight, you don't just go away quietly, you quit and start a whole new party. He literally wrote the playbook.
And this, right here, just brilliantly illustrates his complex legacy. He was a political master, a grandmaster who, for decades, expertly managed the fault lines of Malay politics to his own advantage. He didn't necessarily create the cracks, but man, he knew exactly where and when to apply pressure for his own political survival. And that brings us back to the ultimate paradox of his entire career. Did the man who unified a modern nation also become the chief divider of its people? It's a question that isn't just about the past. It continues to define Malaysian politics to this very day.